Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
You are listening to WEDN Eve Radio, the sound of the cosmos.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain.
Hi, this is Katie Cool, reporting for WEDN Eve Radio. We at WEDN are currently seeking interviews, news, gossip, and local happenings throughout New Eden to add to our programming. We want WEDN to be your station, so your suggestions and comments are welcome. Visit us at wednradio.org or contact me, Katie Cool, in New Eden chat. This is Katie Cool. I'll see you in the ether, and thanks for listening to WEDN Eve Radio, the sound of the cosmos. You are listening to WEDN Eve Radio, the sound of the cosmos.
I shall leave you as you left me, as you left her.
It doesn't hurt me.
Eternity.
Do you wanna feel how it feels?
Dead planet.
Do you wanna know that it doesn't hurt me?
Bury them.
Do you wanna hear about the deal I'm making? It's you and me. And if I make it, I make a deal with God, and I get
Funding for programming here at WEDN Eve Radio is provided in part by Bob's Shuttle and Transport. With our fleet of Lona shuttles, we can provide you temporary transportation with drop-off and pick-up service. Our heavy cargo haulers can meet you on station and transport your ships, equipment, and gear to your destination. Contract and deposit required, including ship insurance. Bob's Shuttle and Transport, moving what you need to where you need in New Eden.
Sentience of internal, external, or virtual existence. Consciousness.
Autopilot engaged. Warping to station. Warp drive active.
Sentience of internal, external, or virtual existence. Consciousness. 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 Sentience of internal, external, or virtual existence. Consciousness. Sentience of internal, external, or virtual existence.
small move.
I think I can get him before he gets there. He's almost in range.
That's no moon. It's a space station. Too big to be a space station.
You are listening to WEDN Eve Radio, the sound of the cosmos.
You are listening to a special presentation from WEDN Eve Radio, the history of New Eden then and now. We will be right back.
EVE Online is approaching 20 years since its release back in 2003. In a game where players are the content, people didn't just play EVE Online. For many it was, and to some degree still is, a way of life. With the hundreds and thousands of player-driven stories and events taking place over the decades, there are a few that people will always remember. Stories that shaped the entire landscape of EVE, with people recounting year after year. And while there are only a few people still playing today who can truly claim, "I was there," the events themselves are forever immortalized in history. And so today we're going to look at some of the more defining moments in EVE Online. Back in 2003, EVE Online was a mere infant of a game. Players hadn't yet organised into the massive sector alliances that we see today, and with most people still learning the game, there was very little attention paid to the notion of screwing other people over. Just a few short months after the game released, a corporation called Mu got its members together and decided that they were going to camp one of the jump gates located in the Mara system, which was at the time a major shipping route. In the course of just a few hours, Mu had destroyed pretty much every ship that tried to jump through the system. At first, players simply stopped jumping, in the hopes that Mu would just get bored and move on. But as the hours turned into days, and the days turned into weeks, Mu had the system locked down 24 hours a day, and the economy of EVE Online was starting to suffer. Eventually the players themselves formed what was really the first player coalition of sorts, as they banded together to try and break the camp. But Mu was simply too strong, and the attacking forces were quickly destroyed. Complaints had started to make their way to the forums, and CCP were quick to take notice. In response, the developers themselves formed its own battleship fleet, and in epic fashion drove the Mu pilots away quickly, ending the gate camp. The problem was, though, that once CCP had left, they simply reformed the camp and returned to destroying all ships that entered. Naturally, it was beyond the scope of CCP to babysit the system. They couldn't be online 24 hours a day, so something else had to be done. And soon, Mu pilots began encountering some very odd spatial anomalies that found the fleet scattered to various corners of the EVE universe. Of course, CCP never admitted to using their dev tools to teleport players across the galaxy, but even so, it didn't take long for the Mu camp to regroup and continue its harassment of the Mara jump gates. All things must come to an end, however, and eventually the Mara gate camp ended. Though time hasn't recorded the exact reason for this, one can speculate that the Mu Corporation simply did get bored and moved on. But their actions prompted CCP to make sweeping changes to how jump gate system worked, notably by fitting gun encampments around them that would deter anyone trying to camp in the future. These days, of course, gate camping is normal and something that all players are wary of when travelling. But the next time you're sitting at a gate waiting for that activation, think back to Mu and the time of not only the first gate camp, but the first time that CCP formed a fleet to fight its players. It's well known in EVE these days that subterfuge, infiltration and betrayal are all part of the game, but in 2005 a 2-year-old EVE was still finding its feet. A grand scheme was put into motion in this year though, and just like a plot of a movie, an anonymous employer contacted the guild, the Guide in Hand Social Club, with a job offer: kill Muriel, the CEO of a corporation called Ubiquitous Seraph, and to steal everything they possibly could. Nothing like this had been done in EVE by this point, but Guide in Hand accepted the contract. Members of the Corp began to infiltrate the Ubiquitous Seraph's corporation on every level possible, and eventually one of the spies, Arenis, was so trusted that he became elevated into senior leadership roles, and was even known as Muriel's right-hand man. In all, it took 10 months of preparation. But once all of the pieces were in place, Arenis asked Muriel to follow him to a nearby system. Being a trusted friend, of course, she agreed, and jumping into her Navy Apocalypse battleship, a really rare and expensive ship at the time, undocked and left the system. The second Muriel was away from safety, the other Guide in Hand's pilots warped in and destroyed her ship and pod, taking her corpse as proof for the initial unknown contractor. The other spies, still located within Ubiquitous Seraph, began taking everything they could that was stored in shared hangars and storage, stealing around 30 billion in ISK and ships. Not so much by today's standard, but in 2005 this was an impossible amount. Muriel was betrayed, Ubiquitous Seraph was broke, and the Guide in Hand forever defined themselves in history as the first ever contracted assassination, the first ever large-scale infiltration, and the biggest heist ever seen at the time. In the early days of EVE, one of the first real signs of a super coalition saw the rise of an alliance called the Band of Brothers. As an elite PvP group, Bob cemented its place by taking over vast quantities of space that quickly turned into an almost impenetrable fortress. While Bob had its fair share of enemies, there were very few who could actually rival its strength and numbers. One alliance that could, however, was known as Goonswarm. Bob and Goonswarm had been locked in a perpetual war for some time. There were many fights, plots and schemes over the course, but neither side really gained any ground. That was all about to change though. Agamar, one of the senior directors of Bob, had infiltrated Goonswarm with an alt account. His plans were simple: gather intel, uncover secrets, and then use that knowledge to destroy them. A sound plan, but with one massive problem. The longer Agamar spied on Goonswarm from within, and the more he flew with them under the guise of gathering intel, the more he began to actually enjoy being with them, and after becoming tired of Bob's elitist and condescending attitude, decided eventually to reveal himself to the Goonswarm Spy Corporation with an offer of defection. Agamar's defection came in February 2009, and as he was at director level within the Bob Alliance, had a lot of power and control. First, he stole everything he was able to from the corporation's holdings. Then he kicked all of the members out of the corporation, kicked all of the corporations out of the alliance, and then disbanded the alliance altogether. In seconds, the massive amount of space that Bob had controlled became uncontested, and Goonswarm instantly began their invasion of Bob's territory, mostly uncontested given the confusion created within the alliance. The once mighty alliance was never fully able to regroup, and had no choice but to retreat into NPC-controlled space. The Bob Alliance had terrorized the universe since it was formed, and it was considered to be at war with everyone, so many people were happy to see the downfall. Little did they know at the time, however, that the victors of this war would go on to have a similar history. You see, when Agamar first decided to defect, he spoke at length with, at the time, Spy Master of Goonswarm, a player in-game known as the Mittani. who most listening today will recognise as the now current leader of Goonswarm and its alliances, and much like events of the past, would also go on to have the universe turn against them. But that's another story. While Bob did eventually reform under a different name, this was the defining moment in EVE where the largest player alliance ever created fell, and the word Bob was effectively erased from the game by the actions of just one player.
You tell him I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
The exhaust port is
Marked and locked in.
switch all power to
Front. Deflector screen. Switch all.
power to front deflector screen.
How many guns do you think, Gold 5?
Say about 20 guns, some on the surface, some on the towers.
Final call for Floston Paradise. Last call for Floston Paradise. Hurry up.
Permission requested. Docking request accepted.
Hi, this is Katie Cool, reporting for WEDN Eve Radio. We at WEDN are currently seeking interviews, news, gossip, and local happenings throughout New Eden to add to our programming. We want WEDN to be your station, so your suggestions and comments are welcome. Visit us at wednradio.org or contact me, Katie Cool, in New Eden chat. This is Katie Cool. I'll see you in the ether, and thanks for listening to WEDN Eve Radio, the sound of the cosmos.
Funding for programming here at WEDN Eve Radio is provided in part by Bob's Shuttle and Transport. With our fleet of loaner shuttles, we can provide you temporary transportation with drop-off and pick-up service. Our heavy cargo haulers can meet you on station and transport your ships, equipment, and gear to your destination. Contract and deposit required, including ship insurance. Bob's Shuttle and Transport, moving what you need to where you need in New Eden.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
thing. I want to get out of this rattle. I want to get online. I need a computer. Need a computer. A computer. Need a computer.
Permission requested. Docking request accepted.
You are listening to WEDN Eve Radio, the sound of the cosmos.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
Switch all power to front. Deflector screen.
Programming here at WEDN is made possible partly from contributions from corporations operating in New Eden. If you are interested in contributing to WEDN Radio, you can call us or send email. A list of contributors is available at wednradio.org, as well as news, links, special events, and more. Visit us online today at wednradio.org, and thanks for listening to WEDN Eve Radio, the sound of the cosmos. You are listening to WEDN Eve Radio, the sound of the cosmos.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Nidhogger's here. Stand by. Point on the Nidhogger. Sonos up. It's on the photos icon. It's a broadcast for reps. Bump him off if you can. Get a scram on him. Scrammed on. Make sure you get your traversals up. Okay, give it some heat now.
Stiletto approaching us.
Fine.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. Dave, I'm afraid I can't do that.
Permission requested. Docking request accepted.
You are listening to WEDN Eve Radio, the sound of the cosmos.
Beware the beast man, for he is the devil's pawn. Alone among God's primates, he kills for sport, or lust, or greed. Yea, he will murder his brother to possess his brother's land. Let him not breed in great numbers, for he will make a desert of his home and yours.
Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
You are listening to WEDN Eve Radio, the sound of the cosmos.